Hello again, I'm Michael Williams. If you're joining us on WPTV.com or your favorite or most used streaming device, we're bringing you live coverage again from the United States Capitol. My guest right now, a very familiar face to you in South Florida, U.S. Representative Ted Deutch, Congressional District 22 in the South County area and beyond of Palm Beach County, Democrat, longtime member of Congress. Sir, we thank you for taking time to be with us live from the nation's capital. First and foremost, where are you right now? Orient our viewers and talk about the safety of you and your staff.
Well, thanks for having me. I'm doing okay. I left the House floor right as the objection was raised, just before the breach. So I got back to my office. I've been sheltering in place here and following the guidance from the Capitol Police. And my staff is safe as well, and that's clearly the most important thing to me right now.
Congressman, when you say safe, for people unfamiliar, you have several House office buildings. Cannon, one of them. Which one are you in? Let me just ask you, which House office building are you in?
Sure. My office is in the Rayburn building, and throughout the course of the day, there have been evacuations of buildings. There have been reports of, obviously, we've seen what's going on in the Capitol, which is across the street, again, just to orient the viewers. The office buildings are on the other side of the street, and there have been reports of people breaching the security here. There have been reports of pipe bombs. I don't know at this point what's real, what's true, and what isn't. We just, as I said, we do what the Capitol Police instructs us to do, and right now that means not straying very far from where I am talking to you.
Are you in formal lockdown at this moment?
Yes.
And you remain in lockdown with no real certainty as to when that will end?
No. And if you look at for everyone who's been watching the video, the really horrible images coming from the Capitol, and the significant increase in law enforcement, finally, I might add, it seems pretty clear that that's going to get worse before it gets better.
You said, finally, I might add. That seemed like a polite criticism. Should we have anticipated this, first of all? And then I want to back up a moment to when you knew that there were problems coming. But first to the law enforcement equation.
Well, should we have anticipated this? Of course we should have anticipated this. We had
criticism in that regard, which is why I ask of the mayor. Who said, I don't need federal help, at least according to one network report. There's a lot flying around there.
I know
the context in which I asked that.
Right. So I know that the Capitol Police takes the lead in all these matters, and I don't know the conversations that took place ahead of time, but we knew that there were thousands of people descending on the Capitol in response to the urging of the president to come out and block the process that's going forward to ensure a peaceful transition of power and the certification of the Electoral College vote. And then this morning, we heard the speakers at the rally again speak in terms that could only be understood as encouraging violence. And so when people turned and marched to the Capitol, yes, I think we should have anticipated what was coming, and there'll be plenty of time to figure out what happened here. But the fault obviously doesn't lie with law enforcement. The fault lies with these people who staged insurrection, the rioters, the terrorists, whatever you call them, people actively engaged in sedition. That's who's to blame here.
Strong terms, but on a historic day, and those terms are ones I know you don't utter mildly.
No, and I don't. And I was asked earlier today, before this happened, what my response was to those who suggested that what was being done in the Capitol by some of my colleagues and Senator Hawley and Senator Cruz and others who were supporting the president in trying to overturn this election, that we should view that as a coup, or that we should view this as sedition. And I was very clear just a few hours ago that I don't use those terms lightly. But after what we've seen today, I don't know how you can characterize it as anything but. And
what?
As anything, this was an active attempt to strike at the to put at risk the people who work in the United States Capitol, not just members of the House and Senate, but all of the staff who was in there doing their job, and to do it to advance this again, these conspiracy theories that are based on mountains and mountains of lies, that somehow, as the president even said again today, that somehow this election is going to have an outcome other than the one the people of America chose to see, which is the election of Joe Biden and Kamala Harris as president and vice president.
For those of you joining us live across all of our streaming platforms, I again am with Democrat Ted Deutch from Southern Palm Beach County District 22, covering a wide area there, longtime Democratic congressman joining us live, sequestered, locked down in the Rayburn building, which is adjacent to the United States Capitol. I assume you went there via the tunnels that connect you to the Capitol. You did that right before the House, in your words, were breached. Did you?
Can you hear me okay?
I can hear you. Can you hear me, sir?
Not really well. No.
If I really, TA, our engineer will work on that. Can you hear me at all?
Every other word, but I'm happy to do the best I can.
We'll keep going. Our audience can hear you fine, so I'm going to kind of yell here. But sir, speaking to, at what point did you realize? Did you have a sense that, oh my gosh, people are coming into the Capitol, or was it only when Capitol Police and others said you need to get out of here? Run us through that.
I think you asked about the circumstances when we had to leave. I think that's what you asked. The day started the way that we knew that it would, the way that the Constitution and law prescribes, which is we met in a joint session of Congress at 1 o'clock for the purpose of certifying the election. The process started just as it's supposed to. The vice president conducting and presiding, and they went through the first couple of states, Alabama and Alaska. They got to Arizona. There was a challenge to Arizona by one of my colleagues and Senator Cruz, and then at that point, the House and Senate split. That's when a lot of us settled in to see the debate. I stayed for a little while and then left. And as I came back to the office buildings, we were getting notifications on our phones that we needed to get to our offices, needed to stay in our offices, and shelter in place to be safe.
Congressman, what do you say? I see in comments, which we're not going to read on air, but the vitriol, the vulgarity, frankly, of some of the comments on both sides here. We've come to a place that for a lot of Americans is extremely scary. How do we even begin to heal this rupture?
Well, I think that the most important thing we can do right now, Michael, is acknowledge that we had an election, that's how our democracy works, that the president didn't like the outcome of the election, and so utilized all of the means that he has available to him, go into court to try to advance what now I think 80 courts have rejected, these conspiracy theories that have no basis in fact. The best thing we can do to start to address the vitriol, to start to address what we saw happen today in our nation's capital, it is to stop trying to reverse the outcome of this election, to acknowledge that we had an election, that Joe Biden won the election, that Donald Trump lost a popular vote by 7 million votes, lost the Electoral College vote overwhelmingly, and that there's a peaceful transition of power, and that Joe Biden's going to be inaugurated. And to stop telling his supporters that this was stolen from him, to stop advancing these outrageous conspiracy theories. That would be a really good start. Then all of those people who are outside of our offices right now attacking the United States Capitol might actually turn around and go home and not face what we're concerned we're going to see, which is tonight when things, when darkness falls, when law enforcement does what they need to go in and clear the Capitol out. This is a really dark day, really, really dark day for our country. And yes, there's a lot of vitriol, but respectfully, how do we make it stop? It starts at the top, and that's with the President of the United States.
And sir, we'd like to play the statement he put out on Twitter, taped statement, and it was one that put out on Twitter. And for those of you at home, Twitter put out this claim of election fraud that you'll hear him still making, and this tweet can't be replied to, retweeted, or liked due to a risk of violence. Here's the taped statement, and I must say it came after a live address from the president-elect calling on the president to tell people to end this, quote, siege. Here's what the president said in a taped Twitter statement from the White House, and we'll let you respond.
I know your pain. I know you're hurt. We had an election that was stolen from us. It was a landslide election. Everyone knows it, especially the other side. But you have to go home now. We have to have peace. We have to have law and order. We have to respect our great people in law and order. We don't want anybody hurt. It's a very tough period of time. There's never been a time like this where such a thing happened, where they could take it away from all of us, from me, from you, from our country. This was a fraudulent election, but we can't play into the hands of these people. We have to have peace. So go home. We love you. You're very special. You've seen what happens. You see the way others are treated that are so bad and so evil. I know how you feel, but go home and go home in peace.
Congressman Deutch, as we bring you back full live for our audience, your reaction in response to that statement.
The President of the United States watched people marching with tiki torches in Charlottesville and said he saw very fine people on both sides. Today, the President of the United States watched rioters, terrorists, attack the United States Capitol and said, "We love you. You're very special to us." I don't begrudge people for supporting the president. I have lots of friends who supported President Trump. I have colleagues that I work with and that I like who supported President Trump. But we had an election and he lost the election. And it is dangerous for the President of the United States, after seeing these attacks on the Capitol today, to go on television or to post this video and to continue to spew lies about the election and talk about how things were stolen from him, and everyone understands it. It's outrageous. It is outrageous. And there's a reason that the reaction you just posted, that tweet couldn't even be retweeted, because it's full of lies and it's dangerous.
Let's take that down, TA, the Chiron there, because it's the one you were referring to.
Yeah.
Congressman, it's worth noting to our live audience, the Republican veteran majority leader, at least for the remaining moment, we'll see what happens at the end. It looks like some are saying Democrats will now have control of the Senate as well as the House because of what's going on in Georgia. But setting that aside for a moment, at the moment, the Senate majority leader, a 36-year Republican Senator Mitch McConnell, said today that we cannot watch, and he wouldn't stand by and watch, what he called the possible downward spiral of democracy. The Vice President of the United States, Mike Pence, said he did not have the authority to overturn the electoral certifications as President Trump had urged him to do. The Republican former Attorney General, Bill Barr, said no widespread fraud. The Republican election security chief, Chris Krebs, appointed by President Trump, said it was a secure election, and then he was fired for saying so, and Bill Barr was shown the door. If that's not enough, on top of the Trump-appointed judges who said these are meritless cases, and I continue to see on a feed people said, we don't believe any of that. How do we get back to any kind of conversation if that's not enough proof coming from Republicans about where we are and what happened over the last few months?
Right, all of that, and even just a little while ago, my colleague, my friend Adam Kinzinger, who's a Republican who served our nation proudly in military service, said many of the same things. This isn't about partisanship. This isn't about Democrats or Republicans. This is about a moment where people have to just decide whether we're going to continue to defend the Constitution. We're going to certify. That's going to happen. Despite what happened today, that's going to happen. And we're all going to have to vote whether, and go on record as being in supportive or against these efforts to undo the election. And that includes every member of the House and Senate. We've not heard yet, I don't think, from Senator Rubio or Senator Scott on how they're going to vote. But if today isn't a reminder enough of how fragile this democracy is, we're going to survive. The guardrails of democracy are in place, but not until we've been really, really tested. And so you asked the question, again, respectfully, you asked the question as if we need to search our souls to figure out how to find ways to work together again. Well, for my colleagues in a bipartisan way, Democrats and Republicans, who understand, as Mitch McConnell does, that this has to end, that the president has to simply do what he found himself unable to do during the campaign, which is commit to a peaceful transfer of power and admit that he lost the election and stop telling lies and stop inciting the kinds of actions that can lead to what we saw today. Until he does that, I'm not sure what other answer there is, because there is a strong bipartisan recognition that the behavior of the president is out of control and it's dangerous. And today was not in any way, it's shocking in some ways, in other ways, at the same time, it's not at all surprising. And we need to come together around that.
Congressman, a short while ago, well, about an hour ago, one of your colleagues, Republican Brian Mast from Congressional District 18, deplored the violence. He was very emphatic about that, but said his objections to the electoral certification in a number of states, Arizona, Georgia, Pennsylvania, and several others, would continue. And the other day, he brought up a theme to me that I'm seeing on my feed, people saying, you know what, Democrats didn't mind trying to disenfranchise or delegitimize President Trump for the past 4 years with impeachment, a Russia probe that ultimately they say and argue, and in fact, no charges came from that. They're saying, so you didn't mind doing that for 4 years. And the theme, this is not Congressman Mast's words, let me say, although he did say he understood the frustrations. But on my feed today, I'm seeing people say, well, what did you expect when it's tit for tat now? How do you respond to that kind of logic? And again, I want to say that was not his direct statement, but he did say he understood the frustration. Some of the comments on my page are saying, you get what's coming to you.
I don't even understand I don't even understand what that means. You get what's coming to you. Hold on.
Yeah, don't be upset that after 4 years of delegitimizing President Trump, we're upset and we don't buy into this. That's the
president of the United States. Let's just be clear about a couple things. The president of the United States, Donald Trump, the current president, got his start in politics by advancing the birther movement, by being a founding member of the birther movement, by saying that Barack Obama was an illegitimate president. This idea that somehow impeaching the president which I would be happy to debate at length about why the Constitution needed to be defended and still needs to be defended even more today. But the idea that there is any justification anywhere for the president of the United States standing up and telling lies and sowing discord and casting doubt on the outcome of an election and trying to overturn the will of the voters, there's some justification for that? In what? Not in America, not in this country. That's not how it works here. Are there grievances? Look, I work in politics. I represent my whole district, every single one of the 750,000 people who lives in my district, lots of them disagree with me, and we have debates, and that's the way it works. And some people agree with me on some things, and they vehemently disagree with me on other things, and that's okay too. But that doesn't give anyone the right to suggest that it's the president's right to try to overturn, or that it's Brian Mast, my colleague, Congressman Mast's right, or Senator Rubio, or Senator Scott, or Senator Cruz, or Senator Hawley, that they somehow have a right to overturn the outcome of an election. They don't. They don't, and they know it, and they know what's going to happen. They know the outcome today, and they know how dangerous it is. They have to know how dangerous it is when you continue to act as if we didn't have an election where the outcome was clear, both the popular vote and the electoral college vote. They know that. So I utterly reject any idea that somehow there's any justification for the president of the United States to try to overturn an election and to advance lie after lie, conspiracy theory after conspiracy theory to try to do it.
Congressman Ted Deutch, again joining us, District 22 Democratic Congressman, covering wide swaths of South County, South Palm Beach County. Sir, as we close, let us close where we began, where we are as we come to nightfall. You brought up some interesting points. Democrats in the House alone have the political strength to make sure that at the end of the day, the electoral votes will be certified. President-elect Joe Biden will be inaugurated January 20th. Those are parts of the political math. Given that reality, where do we go in the next hours and days? And your final message to those who support you and to those who don't on what I think a great many people agree is one of the darker chapters in American history that we're witnessing unfolding right now.
Well, I appreciate that. I appreciate the opportunity to have a good, longer discussion than we typically get to have. And I would start by acknowledging what you said as true. It's true that the Democrats that have sufficient numbers to ensure that we uphold the Constitution. That's true, but what's important is that it's not just going to be the Democrats. It's going to be the Democrats and a broad cross-section of Republicans, starting with people like Mitch McConnell and Senator Toomey and so many others in the Senate. And I hope Senator Rubio and Senator Scott, I honestly hope they recognize what's at stake here. But there's going to be a big bipartisan rejection, clear rejection of these efforts to overturn an election by advancing conspiracy theories. There's a reason that we heard over the past few days from business leaders, from former government officials, secretaries of defense, Democrats, Republicans, former high-ranking elected officials of both parties. There's a reason that they've all stood up, and this is a really, really dark day. But what gives me hope is not what's led us to this day. It's going to be the strong bipartisan way we react to this day by rejecting those voices of darkness who want to try to overturn an election, and by instead standing firmly and squarely on the side of our democracy, our voters in America, and our Constitution in doing the right thing. And when Joe Biden is president and Kamala Harris is vice president, I am confident that they taking the lead, President Biden taking the lead, we will work together on behalf of the American people. That's what the voters expect. That's what the citizens of America deserve. And I look forward to doing that in a bipartisan way to advance the interests that we all share, stopping this pandemic, making sure that we're staying healthy and safe, addressing the economic impact of this pandemic, and then making investments in our future. That's what we're going to do together because we have to. We'll get through today, but this is you're right. This is a day I thought I'd never see. I think most people thought that they would never see, and we have to learn from it and build ourselves up from it and not allow this to be the start of something worse.
Congressman Ted Deutch, and thank you for that note about the bipartisan nature that we're seeing on Capitol Hill right now, saying enough, we need to move forward. It is indeed very much a bipartisan cry going up today to move forward and to respect the rule of law. And we thank you for the clarity on that and other topics today. We appreciate you taking time for us and, more importantly, for your constituents here in South Florida. Thank you for being with us, sir.
It's good to be with you. Thank you.